Soundwave vs. Starscream Round 2 is here. What's up everyone, James here, and we return to Skybound's Transformers. Make sure to hit that like button. As always, you'll find a link to the Skybound Transformers playlist right here, below the like button and at the end of the video. So this issue jumps between the Autobots on Cybertron and the Autobots on Earth. I'm going to cover everything on Cybertron first and then finish up with the Autobots on Earth, saving the best for last. So on Cybertron, Alita, Bluestreak, and Cliffjumper arrive in this area on the planet that the Decepticons decimated. Through their conversation, we learn this area is Cliffjumper's home, where the Decepticons massacred his entire clan, apparently bombing them until they and their home were nothing but ash. Remember, this is something Cliffjumper had revealed to Carly early on in this series, telling her that Starscream was the one responsible for killing his clan. I think it was in issue 4. We see a small flashback of this attack where Cliffjumper witnessed it all. He digs through the rubble to grab a spark canister he had hidden away. When Bluestreak and Alita ask him whose spark is in it, Cliffjumper answers, "There are only pieces of each of my friends left. Not enough to bring any of them back, but maybe enough to make something new." This is going to lead to a new Transformer joining the roster, and it's awesome. But that will be in the next video, coming very, very soon. Sometime later at Alita's Autobot base of operations, Cliffjumper asks if the Autobots here are the last of the Resistance, and Alita answers, "The last in this sector." She goes on to explain that since the Decepticons figured out a way to intercept their long-range communications, they've been unable to contact and see if there are any other pockets of Autobot resistance still standing on Cybertron. For all they know, they could be the last of the Autobots on the planet. She asks Cliffjumper what he plans on doing with his clan Sparks, and he answers, "I'm taking them to the Well of Sparks." Now this is yet another example in the list of examples I've pointed out so far of Skybound's Transformers being inspired by Dreamwave's Transformers, because the Well of Sparks is a bit of Transformers lore that originated in Dreamwave, specifically in Transformers War Within: The Dark Ages. I recently finished covering the first War Within series. You'll find a link to the full story video at the end of this video. In the Dark Ages series, it was called the Well of All Sparks. Primus had used the well to create the first 13 Transformers to help in his battle with Unicron. Now Alita is shocked to hear Cliffjumper's plan because, as she points out to him, the Well of Sparks is deep in Decepticon territory, and he would be choosing a death sentence if he went there. But Cliffjumper points out to her that her group is in need of a new warrior. Bluestreak chimes into the conversation, and it gives us a back and forth between him and Alita that shows us the current morale of the Autobots on Cybertron. He says, if we get that place back under Autobot control, not only could it be a rallying cry to the rest of the Autobot factions across Cybertron, but also from there, we could make contact with all of them. Alita replies, "If there even are any." Bluestreak responds to this saying, "Alita, right now you have no hope in your spark. I'm not sure any of us do anymore. But maybe a new Autobot could ignite that fire inside us again." So it seems like after her confrontation with Optimus, Alita has gotten to a point where she's lost all hope of things changing for Cybertron, for them. From her perspective, Optimus chose Earth over her, the Autobots, and Cybertron. By choosing to destroy Shockwave's Energon reserves he took from Earth, instead of using it to help the Autobots on Cybertron and help the planet itself. This is understandable because if there was ever a golden opportunity to change the situation on the planet, it was then. However, Optimus didn't want to use the stolen life and energy from an innocent planet. It wouldn't have been right. Alita then poses a great question to Cliffjumper. She says, "You get what you want and then just take off back to Earth, back to Optimus?" Cliffjumper answers, "No, to Carly." I think, based on his answer, Cliffjumper is not happy with Optimus either, because he essentially left him on Cybertron. But we'll have to wait and see if that's truly the case. From here, we're going to transition back to Earth, where we're going to get the Battle of Combiners and Soundwave vs. Starscream Round 2. The Constructicons form Devastator and take the fight to Bruticus. Optimus orders the Autobots to jump into the water because they'll get crushed by the Combiner's fight if they linger. What sucks for them is Wheeljack's Energon turbine gets destroyed, so they don't have any way of gathering Energon anymore. Now when it comes to the fight between Devastator and Bruticus, it's just going back and forth. Neither is gaining an upper hand in the fight. At the same time, Starscream and Soundwave begin their fight. Honestly, Starscream is only surviving because of the plot. Soundwave should have been easily able to take him out in like 2 moves here, because his current state is no match for him. And what's funny about that is that I think Danny Warren Johnson knows this, and that is why he doesn't prolong their fight. It gets interrupted by Astro Train, straight up ramming into Soundwave. Thundercracker comes swooping in, attacking Starscream, and asking why is he doing this. Starscream answers, "You were there. You left me to his evil usurping plan." Thundercracker replies, "You left us no choice. You were unhinged." Starscream responds, "You think Soundwave is any different from me? It was both of us that tore your precious Skywarp to pieces, all for his useful metals." This completely shakes Thundercracker. For a split second, he is stunned and says, "You lie." Starscream replies, "Wake up from your naivete, Thundercracker. The universe is only for the strong. Turbo Rat eats Turbo Rat. Spark versus Spark. Metal on metal." Starscream takes advantage of Thundercracker's stunned state and gains the upper hand in the fight. But Thundercracker is no slouch. When Starscream attacked him, he grabbed Starscream's remote. He uses the remote to reverse Starscream off the ledge. 2 things I want to point out here. The first is Starscream is arguing that there's no difference between him and Soundwave, that Soundwave is just as evil as him. I'm going to explain at the end of this video why I believe it's not even close. The second thing I will explain now is Starscream's response to Thundercracker, which shows us even more that he doesn't care about anyone at all. He is willing to sacrifice anyone or anything in order to gain more power. This makes his origin even more tragic, because in his origin we saw he truly cared about Jetfire and Genvo and life on Cybertron. However, after losing Genvo and joining the Decepticons, he was manipulated by Megatron and slowly turned into his executioner, his hand of death, a psychotic monster who only cares about strength and power now. Soundwave and Astro Train are battling each other, and through their conversation, we're given a little more insight as to why Astro Train wants to kill Megatron so badly. When Soundwave calls him a coward for switching sides so easily, Astro Train responds, "You think I care about sides? Who hates Megatron more, Starscream or yourself? I go with the one who will let me kill the one who ended my love." At that moment, Starscream lands on Astro Train. Soundwave calls to Thundercracker to help him with these brutes. Thundercracker looks at him, transforms, and flies away as Soundwave is ordering him to come back. I theorized this happening a while back. I can't remember if I also theorized this, but I think this could lead to Thundercracker and Skywarp joining the Autobots, or them just leaving the Decepticons and creating their own faction. As the battle is raging on at the dam, from a distance, Optimus yells at the Decepticons to stop their fighting, because if they destroy the dam, the humans in the area will be devastated. Starscream just responds that he doesn't care about the squishies. What happens next is a consequence of Optimus not telling the Autobots what's been going on with him. He loses control and has a vision of the child again he's been seeing. This time, the child is wrapped in wires, walking on its own. Jazz tries to plead with him not to shoot because the dam is right behind the Decepticons. But Optimus becomes filled with rage and fires. He hits the dam and it soon breaks apart, and water comes bursting through and sweeping all of the Transformers. Wheeljack asks him what happened, and Optimus answers, "I don't know." At that moment, he notices these 2 kids who were watching the Transformers fight. They're about to get swept by the water as well. He tries to swim to save them, but he realizes he's too far away. Just when they're about to get taken by the water, Suddenly, Trailbreaker shows up. He says, "Hello, small things." He uses his force field ability to surround himself and the kids, preventing the water from taking them. This was so awesome to see because I think we all assumed that he wasn't fully functional yet. While Wheeljack is excited to see Trailbreaker coming in clutch at the very last second, and while the Decepticon combiners are still trying to fight each other in the water, Optimus is shocked and distraught by what he did, and he only says one thing to himself: chaos. Meanwhile, Carly and Spike are still searching for Ultra Magnus with RC and Beachcomber. Beachcomber informs the group that Energon levels are spiking north of them. Now elsewhere, in some desert, in a cave, Laserbeak finds what Soundwave sent him to find, and I totally called this in the last video. He finds Megatron. Megatron says, "My old friend, I must thank you for finding me wandering in this desolate landscape." He grabs Laserbeak, pulls out some of his cables and connects them to his eyes and says, "Thanks to your temporary sacrifice, I can see now. Now, guide me to my warriors." Megatron is coming. And once he's fully restored, my god, his fury will be fierce and otherworldly. Remember, we last saw him escape Cobra-La, and the one thing he wants more than anything else right now is Starscream's head. Because remember, he betrayed him. Well, that's the end of the issue. Now I'm going to explain why Soundwave isn't as evil as Starscream. I'll admit, my boy Soundwave has done some pretty evil things in this series. As Starscream mentioned, he did help him tear Skywarp apart. And honestly, you can argue it was his idea, since he was the one who told Starscream they needed Cybertronian tech to repair Teletran. And he looked right at Skywarp when he said this. He killed the crew of the USS Henry Harrison, he was going to give Spike over to Shockwave to experiment on, and he destroyed Tacoma, Washington, killing its citizens. However, he did all of these evil things because he felt like he had to. It was not only for the Decepticons' conquest, but also for their survival. Whereas Starscream, on the other hand, did all of his evil deeds for more power, and because he genuinely enjoyed it. The dude killed Bumblebee when he was no threat to him, literally squished Carly's dad because he just felt like it, and killed Duke's friend Frosting when he had already neutralized them. Shot up Farmingham Hospital so Optimus would suffer before he killed him. The list goes on and on and on, and that is why Soundwave is nowhere near as evil as Starscream. Well, that's the end of the video. Comment below your thoughts and subscribe to the channel if you want more Transformers content. Other than that, have an awesome day, and always remember every day to go beyond.